Alright, BobalosRex here, and tonight, whenever this is posting, we're lore ranting about 12.1. And this is going to have spoilers. The whole point of this video is to spoil it, to inform you, and then talk about my opinions on it, where I think the story can go, what I like, what I don't like, where I was wrong in my predictions too, because I was wrong in some stuff, because I had predictions, remember y'all? And then also talk about new predictions and stuff, and new lore we got. Alright? But the first thing I'm doing is going to be talking about spoilers. So if you do not want spoilers for 12.1, and this is even going to include some spoilers for 12.0.7, because we haven't done that questline yet. I'm going to be spoiling that questline because we need that to go into this story. So yeah, if you don't want spoilers, now's the time. But if you're fine with spoilers, if you've already seen the spoilers, already read the spoilers, then you're free to listen to this video. And I'll tell you how it all goes down on the PTR. I will tell you how it all goes down on the PTR. Because some people just want to frame it a certain way, but they haven't played it. And I've played it. I've played through it. If you talk to the people who've played through it, they have a certain opinion, I feel, about certain aspects of it. Everyone's going to have an opinion about the end. And that's going to be dependent on how you feel. But, yeah, so spoiler warning. Alright, so this is going to be a big one, y'all. I don't know how long this is going to be. And I'm basically doing this, hopefully, in Ula'tek without too much. So, 12.0.7, alright, gives us a lead-in quest. We will be actually doing it very soon, okay? I think it's still one more week away on live, but let's go over it. So, first off, the first part of the quest actually takes place in Harondar. Alright, y'all, so we're going to head over to Harondar in the map real quick. And basically, there's a meeting. The Har'Nyar are like, yo, we're having a meeting. Elves, trolls, here's the meeting. And it's basically like, elves, you're related to the trolls. We got proof. We are the literal proof. That's how the Har'Nyar put it. And it's like, oh, well, there you go. Surprise, surprise. And then, with that information, Zul'jan's like, what the fuck? That ain't right. And is like, I demand proof. So Orwena's like, yo, come over here. He touches the paint. It activates, showing, yo, all of them come from the same critters. Alright. I still think it's not, because we're missing the cinematic. It still ain't 100% what we're getting. But we will know soon. We will know soon what actually is in the cinematic, which will be interesting. But yeah, so basically, troll, elves, Har'Nyar, all related. And then he touches the thing. It activates. He's like, oh shit, this is true. And then the memory shows the Amani origin. Alright. Then you catch a glimpse of Ula'tek, but it's not her real form. Alright. And this is the questline we're playing soon, so this will be cool. So you do all this. Then he's like, Ula'tek? What's up with this Ula'tek? So that's how the Amani beat Kithix? Because the story we're told is the Amani beat Kithix, right? The story has been the Amani beat Kithix Amani style. Turns out, Amani beat Kithix, not with the Loa, because they didn't have the Loa. They hadn't really met the Loa of the area yet. I'll talk more about the origin at the end of this. But he learns about Ula'tek, like, okay, so what's up with this Ula'tek? This is the secret weapon? And then that takes us to actual Zul'jan And I'm over here. It doesn't take us over here, but we're basically right over here. And we're hanging out with Zul'jan and Kindiru. Alright, so we hang out with Zul'jan, Kindiru, and we find this mysterious mask. Then the mask, who is clearly bad, leads us on this wild goose chase for the daggers, the fangs of Ula'tek. Alright, so we go through all the stuff to find where the fangs of Ula'tek are. Turns out, alright, and this is what I said in the spoiler free, I believe, is basically Zul'jan original dungeon. Malakras and Zul'jan were going after a power that they were going to use to take over Azeroth. We stopped them. We never knew what the dark power Malakras was after. Now we know, is Ula'tek. And the fangs of Ula'tek were right here. All along. Zul'jan was so close to getting the fangs of Ula'tek to open up the Isle. Because here's the thing. So the fangs have a connection to the Isle, but there's also another thing with this Isle that we learn. So the Isle over there is sealed by mist. Alright? Now the mist seal is because of the Loa. Now, there's critters on the Coiled Isle, which is the name of the zone, Atal'Utek. There are critters that were sealed away via the fangs of Ula'tek. So, the critters over there needed the fangs, and the fangs are over here. But we also can't go over there. It's all misty. You know, you see how it's like double sealed. It's sealed on both sides. They're sealed in because of this, and then we're sealed out because of that. Bada boom. So, Malakras, Zul'jan, Malakras the mask, I did say. So the evil mask, aka Malakras, leads us on this wild goose chase. It comes out, the fangs are here. Zul'jan, and Malakras, with the daggers, go off to Ula'tek, and Kindiru, alright, is no more. Alright, sad. Alright, but we've already talked about that. So then, alright, after all that, we get the fangs, they run off. We go to Zul'jarra, and we're like, yo, your uncle's dead. Sad. Alright, so all this is going to happen, alright, on July 7th. Alright, next week. Not this week, next week. Okay? So we're back here. We mourn Kindiru. Remember, there's a whole mourning of Kindiru. Body burning, everything. Remember, they do it for all the big people, all the warriors, all the stuff. Remember this for later, because I have a theory later. So, then, when the patch comes out, yo, snakes are attacking. And it's like, oh, shit. Okay, so snakes are attacking all up over here. So they're... Dude, the Witherbark keep getting picked on. Okay? The Witherbark keep getting picked on. But basically, the Fangs, like I said, unlocked what... basically a new race of snake people. The Children of Ula'tek. So, Zul'jan and Malakras go over there with the Fangs. Alright? Independently of the mist seal, right? Because the mist is just the mist. Now, with the fangs, they can go in there, and the snakes, you know, the curse of the island is now their friend. So they go in with the fangs, and they're like, yo, we are y'all's master now, okay? And they've been doing stuff, okay? And one of the things they're working on is basically take trolls and turn them into Children of Ula'tek. Combine the two. Alright, we do learn about that. So, there is some time pass. And I think that's kind of why they do this. So, July 7th, the first part happens. And then we get the patch, like, August 11th. So, then we're getting attacked, right? Trolls are getting abducted. Trolls are getting attacked. Zul'jarra is leading the pushback. We're trying to push back the snakes, defend our people. Yada, yada, yada. Zul'jarra gets the help of the Loa, all the tribes. We push back the snakes, right? We push back all the snake people. It does take a lot, and the snakes do snatch a ton of people. All right, so a ton of trolls, all right, a ton of civilians, soldiers, etc. are all captured, all right? But we're pushing back the trolls, or not the trolls, the snakes, the sneeple, the snake trolls. But it's mostly snakes right now. We get to see the combos a little bit later. But, so all the snakes are attacking, right? All the different kinds of snakes. We push them back with the help of the Loa. And now it's time for the offensive. All right? So we're here with the Loa. We're like, hey, we need to go to the island. And the Loa are like, we can't go to the island. All right? You can talk to Halazi here. All right, Malakras is underground where we can't follow. The land beyond the sky bridge, I do not fear it, yet I cannot step closer. The venomous shroud hangs around it, that even I cannot lift. It is loud with sound, overwhelming my senses. Flittering wings, clashing claws, and snap of teeth, snarls and howls not of this world. A great evil rests there, that I know. Okay, so the Loa can't go over there, but they open up the mists. All right. So then Zul'jarra and her forces are like, we gotta get... She's like, I gotta get Zul'jan. So we gotta stop whatever he's doing with Malakras. And we gotta get the captured Amani. Alright, so we head over here and it's just like immediate snakes are like, yo, where can we make a base? Alright, and then we actually head over here. We fight our way through a little bit, and we head to this place way over here, so we gotta fly. Alright, but we head on over, and we do set up a base. Alright, and then we do learn a lot about this island. I like this island. It's kind of cool. It's got a lot of cool lore in it. But as you can see, basically the children of Ula'tek were hanging out on this island. Here, I'll talk about what's on this island here real quick. So basically, we come over here. And here's what's on this island. So we got ghosts. Alright, Amani ghosts. Alright, we got children of Ula'tek, the many different kinds of snakes. We got some Gnarldin down here. And we got some Murlocs. Alright. That's mostly what we got here. But we head over here. We find this. We got this little encampment here. Bada boom. We're like, okay, so the first thing we got to do is get our captives and stop Zul'jan. So then, from this staging point, we do head on right over here where I was. And we go to stop Zul'jan with Zul'jarra. Alright? So we head on over here. We're saving captives. That's the Delve boss lair, I believe. Yep, there it is. So we're saving captives. Alright, and then we head up to this area. Alright. And there's a big old cutscene, because Zul'jan over here. Look at him. Alright, he's channeling the dagger. He's doing something with the dagger over here, right? So, the dude attacking us, right, when we were over in Zul'jan, was mainly Malakras. Alright, Zul'jan was over here. So I think the troll abductions, Zul'jan wasn't really a part of. Right? He was over here doing the Ula'tek stuff for Malakras. Malakras was probably running multiple gambits. He had a ghost running experiments we learn about. He had Zul'jan doing the stuff with the dagger to get Ula'tek back, because here's the thing, Ula'tek's dead. They're trying to resurrect Ula'tek. Alright? That's the goal. So we come over here, Zul'jarra tries to stop Zul'jan, and there's a cutscene we can't see. At some point, she's inadvertently cut by the dagger. Zul'jan doesn't mean to cut her by the dagger, the cutscene says so. But she's inadvertently cut as he gets away to go do what he's doing. which will cause issues later. But with Zul'jarra dealing with stuff, us and Orwena, okay, are then basically sent visions of Azeroth. So the dagger cut is going to matter, but it is at this point, they sent us to go do something else. Right? So the player character in Orwena, we go to figure out what's up with this place. What's the deal with Ula'tek? We need some more info to figure out what Zul'jan is doing. Because I guess at that point, we really don't know what's going on with this place completely. Because this is new for a lot of us. So us and Orwena go scouting, and she's following the goddess. All right, and the goddess leads her over here. And this is where we learn about a very interesting character. All right. This is where we learn about Nex'Zali and Jackmo. Here is Nex'Zali's body right here. So she was the lady who originally summoned Ula'tek, and it is in here, all right, that we have all the cool mosaics. So let me go see if I can find them all. So this is when we figure out, all right, oh, maybe the mosaics aren't here no more after you do the quest. But yeah, so this is where we figure out why the Amani summoned Ula'tek. All right, Yanti the Bold. Okay. And yeah, that would have been where the mural is. So I do have the mural decor. So it is in this tomb that we figure out that one Nex'Zali, the original summoner, the priestess, all right, who summoned, all right, Ula'tek originally, Nex'Zali, and her brother Jackmo, all right. So Nex'Zali was buried alive in here, all right, because I'll get more into it a little bit when I go over the origin, but basically Nex'Zali summoned Ula'tek to beat Kithix, all right. We also learned that it was like the Amani were about to lose. Jackmo and Nex'Zali, who were Amani, but they come from Zandalar to fight Kithix and to take this land for themselves. They basically followed Kithix for land. All right, so they come over here. They want the land. And Nex'Zali, you know, Kithix about to beat him. Nex'Zali's like, yo, I heard about a snake beating an old god general. Let's summon a snake. I know a snake. And she summons Ula'tek, all right, to fight Kithix, all right? And then we learn that she summoned Ula'tek to fight Kithix, and then that's where basically the Amani Empire started. But the ghost of Nex'Zali possesses Orwena. And that leads us way over here to this swamp over here, all right, that we're heading to, where Orwena basically is possessed by this ghost, and we're still trying to piece together how it all went down. But yeah, so desperation, instead of retreating, Nex'Zali was like, I will sacrifice these souls to summon Ula'tek. Ula'tek comes in, beats Kithix. Kithix is beaten. But Ula'tek basically is killing tons of Amani to beat Kithix. So tons of Amani die. Jackmo and Nex'Zali live. But a ton of Amani die. Kithix is dead. Ula'tek eventually dies of her wounds. Alright. And it is that point, this island becomes what it is, which I'll get more into. But at that point, Jackmo's like, yo, Nex'Zali, you want to bring that snake back? Nah. So he locks her in a tomb. Okay? And then this whole island basically becomes the original sin of the Amani. They summoned a monster to beat the old god minion so they could have their empire. Alright? Their empire is built on this lie that they beat Kithix by themselves, when that is not true. Alright? But that's kind of cool. Like I said, I like this whole, and like, we come from this whole Zul'jan, right? We are framed in chronicles that the Amani just beat Kithix. And it's like, they just beat Kithix. That's cool. Amani tough. And it's like, Amani are tough. But then it was like, where's the Stark power? And now it's tying back. And it's like, yo, they needed help. They needed help. All right. And, you know, they took what they got. They did what they did. So we learn all about that. And then we return with our info about, and the fangs of Ula'tek were the daggers of Nexali. But now Nexali's ghost is free. FYI. Her ghost is now free on the island. So we will see her later. So we head back, and guess what? Remember the dagger that stabbed, that accidentally cut Zul'jarra? Well, she's poisoned. The poison of Ula'tek is not very good, and the only way to help her, turns out, we need the daggers. So, well, we need the dagger. So, that is where we, with Orwena and Liadrin, go into the Altar of Fangs. Now, yeah, let's head in there. So, the Altar of Fangs is in the vault itself. So, I'll kind of talk about the vault here. And that's what's cool, right? So, I talked about the Jackmo, Nexali stuff, but think about how much time it would have taken to build all this stuff. Because at every point when I was going through this, even inside this vault of Ula'tek, there's like masonry inscriptions, right? The head mason's tablet there, and other inscriptions inside here that are different lore objects, that are just like flavor lore objects, not a part of the lore objects here, because I did get all the lore objects here. But this really, it frames it as similar to the Great Pyramids, right? So they build this great monument to their sin, right? Which is supposed to hold and seal away Ula'tek so she can't return. All right. And also may have another purpose, but it's to seal away Ula'tek so that she can't return. All right. All right. Then they put in the spirits of warriors to also make sure Ula'tek and the children of Ula'tek can't return. Because when we come down here, there's like spirits warriors that are down here. All right. So the Amani even had the ghost to help seal this place away. So we go into the dungeon, which is right over there, the Altar of Fangs, to get the dagger. All right. Upon the Altar of Fangs, the ancient Amani sealed the vaults of Ula'tek with the Fang of Ula'tek, right? So look, the Amani sealed the vaults with the Fangs. So the Fangs, which were outside the vaults, were also sealed, and then the lowest sealed it in the mist. Only that cursed dagger has the power to unseal the prison of the great weapon of the Amani, aid Orwena and Liadrin in the pursuit of Zul'jan, who has entered this accursed place in a misbegotten attempt to bring lost glory back to Amani. And here's the basic gist I got it, is basically, in Zul'jan's point of view, it's he wants the weapon power, yada yada, but he's coming over here and basically he has to do all these like unlocking the doors to get in to the vault. Then he's got to get into the vault and use that, all right, well, into the Altar of Fangs. So once he's in here, he has to use this area to unlock that area, all right. So yeah, so then we go in here. I'm pretty sure I read all that. In pursuit of Zul'jan, has entered this accursed place to bring, yeah, okay. So then we're going in, and it's, here, let me bring up the map again. So there's like this center area, and we basically can see Zul'jan channeling in this area. So we head down here, fight this snake. It's just a snake. All right, then we fight yet another snake in this awful room. But let me read this, because these are basically part of the brood of Ula'tek. Because basically Ula'tek died, but she left eggs. And those eggs were hatching, right? Now, the children of Ula'tek couldn't get out of the vault. They were sealed in too. Until they got over. Alright? And there were some snakes on the outside too, but they couldn't get off the island because of the mist and the Loa seal. Alright? So then we got the writhing coil. In a feeding frenzy upon each other, there has been one child of Ula'tek that has proved victorious over the rest in the brood. With every battle run, the twisted monstrosity known as the writhing coil grows stronger. It's a big old snake. Here, what's this one? This ravenous hydra has survived this cursed place through scavenging the meat of the fallen. That doesn't mean it's not a fearsome combatant eager to add some fresh temple explorers to... Oh, so this isn't even a child of Ula'tek. It's just a hydra that came over. It's like, yo, I'm snake-like. Okay, and then with Zul'jan, with the Fang of Ula'tek, Zul'jan performs the final ritual to gain power to release the monstrous weapon his ancestors sealed away 1,000 years ago. Still held in the sway of the spirit of Malakras, Zul'jan is unaware that the Fang is also the only hope for his sister Zul'jarra's survival. So, at the end of the dungeon, we get the daggers from him, but he undoes the seal. And there's a cinematic. You can do the dungeon. You don't get to see the cinematic, but you do beat him, and he's like, oh, at the end, and he's not dead in this, right? And there is like a freeze, and he does seem to emote before the cutscene triggers, and it does seem to be like we get the dagger, talk to Liadrin, then something happens, right? So so that could be where, you know, Malakras comes involved. Maybe that's where Malakras possesses him, because he is Zul'jan in the dungeon. When we see him later, he is possessed. So, but we end up with the dagger here. So he ends up giving us the dagger. So I do want to make sure that's clear. So then we go back, we save Zul'jarra. Alright, we make a little stop there, we save Zul'jarra. But then, like I said, the PTR gave us so much. We did the skip. I did the skip. They gave us the skip. But this is where we go into the raid. Now, I don't have the context of the raid fights, the lore in between each of the raid fights. Now, I can read all the raid fights. So, okay, so I should have said that correctly. I have the information of these raid fights. I don't have this information, and I don't have the information from what may be said in the dungeon itself, and the possibility of even more cutscenes in the raid. But it does seem, like I said, even though we beat Zul'jan, get the dagger, Ula'tek is revived. The vault is unsealed. Alright? And then, here's the raid. Dude, the raid looks so cool. I can't wait to go in there. So, let's go through the raid, because this would be when we get the raid lore. So, I want to go through it. So, we got Nexali. So, this is the great Nexali who I talked about. She's a real character. Alright, she basically, to summon Ula'tek, she killed all her followers, killed her rival, killed her mentor, took all their souls, and were like, yo, Ula'tek, kill everybody. I don't give a shit. Me and my bro are gonna be boss, because that's what she cared about. She cared about taking land for herself and starting an empire. Her brother also wanted to do that, but he didn't want to do it killing everybody. He, in that retreat moment, was saying, hey, I'll hold the pass, we'll get all our people out of here, you know, I'll go, but y'all will be safe. You know, Jackmo, the strong over here, strong Jackmo man, doing it right. Nexali, the soul coiler. But yeah, in the Temple of Ula'tek, the ghostly Nexali coils her way around the spirits of the Imani laid to rest near the soul coil well. She aims to empower herself and complete a ritual of awakening to raise Ula'tek as she once did thousands of years ago. Okay, so it does seem that Ula'tek isn't completely raised yet. when we head in there, but she gonna be, and we need to get in here and stop her. Ooh, this ray looks cool. All right, so then we head in there, and I guess we're right in the soul coil well, and then we head into the pit of fangs, and we meet the twin fangs, Vexul and Ixraz, brood beneath a roiling seed of venom deep within the temple of Ula'tek. As the first to rise from her blood, these beasts are known for their monstrous jaws and mastery of any venom. Any who attempt to enter the temple's inner sanctum risk becoming their next feast. Oh, I guess that's deeper in. All right. So, here, where would this guy be? I wonder if there's, like, other spots. The Vile Crypt. So that's where those two are. And then we got the Crypt of the Soul Coilers. Okay, for Zul'jarra, the Lost Explorers. And then I guess you head into the Coiled Altar. And that's the Coiled Altar placeholder. And then Ula'tek. Okay, so let's read through these fights. So, the Entombed Sentinels. The blood and breath of Ula'tek are ancient golems constructed thousands of years ago, entombed alongside their namesake in the temple's halls. Now venom once again seeps through their stones, stirring the remnants of Ula'tek's power. So these would have been sentinels to guard, to help seal Ula'tek. Alright, entombed. Alright. Because again, Ula'tek did the battle. She wouldn't have had time to make these stuff. Now, next Zali was doing stuff with her soul coilers. Basically, so once she had gotten sealed, maybe there were more soul coilers that Jackmo had to deal with. Like there were still some hanging around, but they all got sealed in. Even the workers got sealed in. All right, a lot of people got sealed in. And we got Vashnik. So this is one of the children of Ula'tek, these new snakes, right? Not quite Sethraki, but a little bit like it. And remember, Sethrallis is actually mentioned multiple places. And we are getting that as a dungeon. So maybe there'll be Sethrak stuff, but I don't know just yet. Alright, it's just mentions. Alright, there are a lot of BFA references, though. So we got the snake here. Vashnik toils away at the malign cavity, combining the different venoms created by Ula'tek. All of his work is towards one goal: a toxin so potent brings Azeroth to his knees. So yeah, this would have been one of the children of Ula'tek in here. I don't think this is one of the trolls mixed with stuff Malakras has been teaming up with, but here's the thing about this venom. There is something felly about it to me. It's not confirmed, it just feels that way. It feels different. Then we run into Lost Explorers possessed by a ghost. A band of Tortolan explorers have found their way into Ula'tek's temple and disturbed a spirit that possesses them to fend off players intruding in the temple. And again, it feels like this dude, alright, Morzani, is probably one of the soul coilers, one of the evil ghosts. Because there are good ghosts in here meant to protect the tomb. Alright. So, we got spooky ghosts possessing Tortolan. Then we got Zul'jarra, born of Ula'tek's venom. Zul'jarra is a brutal instrument of her vengeance, given no purpose beyond tearing her enemies apart. As he prowls the venomous abyss, ancient winds stir within its halls and rise to a howling fury. Oh, snap. So, as we're fighting him, stuff is going on into the temple. We're trying to stop the resurrection of Ula'tek. Alright, and then, so we head in. Now we got the twin fangs. So these are like the proper brood. So that is the brood of Ula'tek. Alright, that we read about. Alright. And then it's our boy. He's a snake. Now, the dagger has an evil spirit attached to it. It was her. It's got a lot of evil energy in it, by the way. The dagger has evil stuff in it. FYI. But it does get destroyed to save Zul'jarra. But we got Zul'jan as a snake, resurrecting Ula'tek with Malakras possessing him. And honestly, this has been getting some name changes and stuff, and now it's called the Coiled Altar. It's still placeholder. Consumed by the power he sought to bring glory to his clan, Zul'jan is transformed into a snakeoid beast. Malakras looks to harness this new vessel as his own to wreak havoc on any who get in his way. So there's a whole lot to this. There's, upon reaching 50% health, Malakras possesses him to prevent his vessel from being defeated. So, I mean, this could change, but it's like early on, he's just in snake mode. But I feel like Malakras may have already been put into him, or maybe Nexali, even though she's not, or the evil from the dagger, because the dagger has corruption to it, like daggers we've seen. All right. But yeah, so Malakras possesses him. Then, upon reaching 1 health, they separate, and then they combine again. So look, so we got Serpent's Bargain, Usurper's Reprisal, the claimed vessel is the intermission, and then the Coiled Union. All right, and then of course there'll probably be a cutscene, but Ula'tek is revived after being in prison for over 16,000 years. And this says in prison, right? But this is talking about reviving. All right? Because it does seem... It's told to her that she dies after Kithix, but then with some other stuff, it's questionable, right? So either way, in prison for 16,000 years, Ula'tek has reconstituted herself to ravage Azeroth once again. All right? And that's the thing, right? We learn that Ula'tek, if you don't, I kind of glanced over it. So Ula'tek is basically, I mean, it's a Loa in term, but it is basically similar to Chimeras, right? Definitely on a higher power level than Chimeras. But what we learn about Ula'tek is she came from the Rift of Aln, so she is a manifestation of Azeroth, and that's the interesting part. I told you there was a part where Orwena's Azeroth visions lead us to Nexali. Very interesting to me. And that's it. That's all the visions lead us to. So we get Ula'tek back. I can't really close though. Ula'tek the big snake. And we stop it. I don't know what goes on after it. I don't know what happens, in there. If there's like things shifting and gears turning and a whole different thing. Because there is some interesting stuff, I guess, about her room as we go down. But that's the thing. There shouldn't be Titan stuff up here. So this would all be troll made, and you can see its similarities to Zul'jan. Alright? Or not Zul'jan. Well, of course it's similar to Zul'jan. To Zandalar. Because when this was built, the people had just left Zandalar. Alright? And more on that in a bit. Let's finish up with the quest line. So, we do the raid. And okay, so here, I want y'all to know exactly how it went down on the PTR with spoilers. So, I did the raid skip that it gave us on the PTR. So, we don't get any of the context of the Zul'jan Malakras fight other than what you just saw me look over. Alright? I can look over all that stuff. His loot. He's got these axes he uses in his main fight. All this stuff. He doesn't have that dagger, because the dagger was destroyed, like I said. And then you can see Ula'tek, all her stuff. She does have some daggers, basically probably her new fangs. And then there's this monument. And this is the cool monument, basically being like, yeah, Kithix got fucking obliterated. But then there's like I feel like there's another twist to this that we're going to get to. So, we completed the raid. Like I said, no cutscenes were shown. Okay? I do like this. Look at that. The feathers, serpent stuff. I absolutely love the troll architecture stuff. And again, I told y'all, they liken this to like the pyramid building with like the inscriptions throughout. And basically they had, here's the thing, it looks like they had workers living here while this was built. So this was their original temple city. And I'm very curious at what point Nixali was, you know, cut off. Because she was sealed away at some point. I wonder if she was involved in the building of this. And then when she realized, wait, it's going to do what? He's just like, that's when you're locked up and sealed away. And then he does the finishing touches with this. All right. Or if she was like sealed away at the beginning and then they had to do all this. But as you can see, the venom has seeped through. All right. Even with all the stuff they built to seal this away. And they sealed this away in this whole mountain here, which is so cool. They built it into the side of the mountain. You know, they basically gave themselves a whole ton of ground to work with. And when you read the headmaster's thing, they're like, yo, we need rocks. We need more rocks. And they're like, yo, can we get rocks from over here? Yeah, where do you think Jackmo's going to go after this is done? Because they basically got to seal this island after that. So, we finished the raid and we're brought all the way out here. Right? And here's what's crazy, right? So, we're brought way out here with Zul'jarra and Zul'jan. Alright, they don't want to show up again. Which is crazy, right? Because think about what was on the other side of this at the beginning. It's us there with Zul'jan. And now at the end, we got Zul'jarra and Zul'jan basically telling us that Zul'jan is dead. Alright? They're telling us he died. There was nothing they could do. To them, he is dead. Now, is he though? Is he though? Now's the time we can get into conspiracy. So that's the quest line. That's where it ended. That's the spoilers. You know, I do want to talk about the Amani origin story again. Talk about Nixali and Zackmo. But that's how the story ends. And honestly, that's where the disappointment was. Right? Because when I was doing all this stuff, going through the tombs, finding the information, or Wayne getting possessed, all this stuff going on, I was so invested the whole way through. I had a good time playing it. And then Zul'jan died. And I was like, what? And here's the thing. You could say, oh, he was evil. He was doing bad stuff. Yeah, he was clearly, he would do a mistake and then do something kind of right when he'd be like, oh, wait, they need the dagger. Here's the... I think he's going to give us the dagger. They basically tell us he didn't mean to cut Zul'jarra. Is he making mistakes? Yeah, but I chalk it up to a kid. He may look like a big Amani, but he's a kid to Zul'jarra, and to me, he does feel like he acts younger than I would be. And that's why it's like, damn. But, you know what they say in movies? I didn't see a body, y'all. And that's what's been weighing on me, right? We don't see the cinematic. We don't see a body, right? So we can't see how it goes down in the raid. And even here, right? There's no funeral. Is it because there's no body? That means we don't get a body in there. Or it gets just like, what? Because it's a snake? They don't want to burn it because it's a snake? I'm just saying. Right? For the people that want to hang on to hope. This is only for the people that want to hang on to hope. Because you can't, if you don't want him to live, if you don't want him to come back, if you don't like him, whatever. But if you are like me and you're like, is there a chance? Because we don't see a body. And how crazy would it be to... This would be a crazy fake out death. This would be a crazy fake out death because now everyone is like, oh, he's dead, he's dead, he's dead. Liadrin and Zul'jarra like, yep, he's dead. But once we see the raid cinematic, what if a quest will pop up like over here? And you'll be like, wait, what is that quest? And it's just, and then we have a hooded figure that's a snake, like, it's me, Goyakin. And it's like, oh shit! That's my hopium, right? That's my hopium for the character. If I don't get it, I'm still fine. Like I said, the story was investing. I'm just a little sad, right? But yeah, that's my theory, right? We don't see a body. We don't have the funeral that we've seen used multiple times. Is he dead? Maybe if we care so much, Blizzard will undead him. Though, I don't think they have time to change what they had planned now. But who knows, man? Like I said, if it is a fake out death, I do think they've planned this for a bit and isn't just spur of the moment. But man, part of me feels that. Okay, but now let's talk about more. There are some other disappointments. So let me go through some of my other issues through this whole quest line. And there is some more that I want to talk about. Lotharmar didn't care to help. Amani showed up for these Void Assaults. They showed up for the Sunwell. Lotharmar's like, I ain't sending you shit. Not even a token force, just Liadrin. You know, he's acting in character. I'm not saying he's out of character, but I am not liking him. He is not my Blood Elf leader. That's all I gotta say. So, I'm upset about Zul'jan's fate. I'm upset, right? We do get a taste. We get a taste of Zul'jarra in the Horander part of the quest. We get literal Zandalari boats, and we learn that the Zandalari also use this place as a prison island. They're like, yo, Vol'dun ain't enough. Send them to the Amani Snake Island. I'm just saying. They're like, no, we really want to send them out there. Alright? Snake Australia. Troll Snake Australia. But yeah. Tortolin recently showed up on the Isle and we're getting blasted by the not buff snakes. Because that's the thing. The snakes were here. The children of Ula'tek were here, but they couldn't really do much, per se, until the fangs came back over. Then that instigated them, but there was still, like, poison swamps, but there were murlocs, Jarden hanging off over here on this island, and then this massive, like, there's a ghost arena. And that's what I'm saying, right? If you look at this place, right? I can start talking about the history. So yeah, we got Jackmo and Nexali, right? Let's get into the big history, and then we'll get back to some of my issues. So, imagine Kalimdor as one continent. Jackmo and Nexali, Amani, they would have been related to Manzajan, alright? Because we do hear about him in the royal lineage. But it turns out that after the whole Trollakir war, yeah, the Zandalari knew Kithix was up here, and the Amani were like, yo, we want that land. It seemed like the Zandalari didn't care about going to get Kithix. They were like, no, we did our Akir War. So it was the Mani electing to be like, no, these two, Jackmo and Nexali, to be like, no, we are going to go after Kithix to get this land. All right, that's how it's framed. All right, which isn't bad, honestly. Taking it from an... Here's the thing about Kithix, right? In the follow-up quest, he is framed as Xal'atath's Dark General. Think that's relative. Think that's relevant, is what I meant to say. So, they did... So, Jackmo and Nexali came over here. We're losing against the armies of the old god. Kithix was just, a bit too much. But Nexali did the thing. And here's the thing. I will give Nexali credit for doing what she had to do to win. But, man, she did it shady as hell. She's like, let me use Amani souls. Let me try to use these bug souls. Let me try to do this or that. No, she was like, nah, I'm going to rip our dead souls. I'm going to make some fresh dead ones to use for our souls. And this final stand basically happens right here. Alright, this is one of the tablets here. In Jungle of Bright Green fought, and then her fangs. But yeah, so all that happens right here. And then, yeah, Jackmo built this place up. So let me get back to what I was talking about. So, my issues. I know I jumped around here, but my issues here. Lack of other trolls. We don't see Darkspear mentioned. Darkspear don't show up. Or, actually, no. Fuck, I'm wrong. So, the Darkspear do show up in the Harandir thing, again, but don't show up in the 0.1 campaign. Okay, same with Talanji. But we get a bunch of BFA references. Grawl stuff gets mentioned. Like I said, because there are Zandalari here. Like, Zandalari goes. These most recent Rex are from Tortolan. So there's a lot of, like, BFA references here. And... that's what makes me think maybe in the 0.5 or 0.7 we will get some Zandalari and Darkspear involvement. But the interesting part is Nexali, speaking of Darkspear, Nexali is kind of framed as a shadow hunter. Alright, so that's very interesting. Even though she is a priestess too. But she's kind of set up as a shadow hunter. So yeah, my issues: lack of other trolls, Zul'jan's fate, Lotharmar, and Ula'tek being just a monster. But to me, the jury could still be out on that, because I do find it interesting that Ula'tek is just a manifestation of Azeroth. So in my opinion, Azeroth could fix Ula'tek. Will we see that happen? We ain't seen it in this patch, but maybe in the 0.5, 0.7 we'll have to see. Same thing with the other trolls showing up. Hopefully, we'll see that stuff go on in the future. And maybe Zul'jan's fake out dead. Now, after the main questline, we did get the Eretor questline. Now, the Eretor questline is basically like Umbric's like, hey, let's figure out what's up with all the Twilight Blade. Why are they still hanging around? Eretor needs something to do. Let's go do that. Since we have no leads on where Illyria is. So, them going to do that, right, leads us around killing Twilight, this whole thing. Eretor uses the shadow. Antinorian pops back up again. I was really hoping for Darkon Drathier, but nope. It's Antinorian, that guy. And then, yeah, Eretor uses the Twilight, yada, yada, yada. And then we figure out, guess what? The Twilight Blade are after Kithix. And now that Ula'tek is dead, Kithix can be revived. And it is at this point Lotharmar goes, damn. Maybe I should have helped the trolls. Because what they did caused a mess. And I'm literally like, Lotharmar, I want to strangle you. But yeah, so killing Ula'tek bad? Because Kithix is now free. But I don't know if that's necessarily how they're going to frame it. Because again, Ula'tek is kind of framed as just a monster manifestation of Azeroth's, chaos, hatred. That's why I feel like this poison's got some legion, some fel in it almost. And why I wish, we get some more stuff on Ula'tek, Now, all that Eretor questline does is basically prove that wherever the 0.5 happens, the raid is going to be Kithix. Right? So where is Kithix popping up? Somewhere on this island? Maybe we should fly around this island. I've been up over there. Maybe. But where is he going to pop up? Alright, where's the labyrinth going to be? I do still have a lot of questions. So this zone may still have some secrets left to be unearthed. But it does seem that we are going to be fighting Kithix. Now, there is other conspiracy theory that I want to talk about. But let me get to my second page and run you down on this Amani history that I kind of jumped over and then jumped around on. So let's get back to it. So, Jackmo and Nexali are the Amani that built the Amani Empire. Nexali, using Ula'tek, beat Kithix. And with that land, Jackmo cut out his sister and built the Amani Empire. Built on strength. That's why he is strong Jackmo. Alright? So he led the Amani after sealing this island away. And it is at that point, right? So here we go. Let me just go down my list here. So Kithix was winning. Jackmo gave up and was going to retreat and sacrifice, but Nexali summoned Ula'tek using the souls of the Amani. Ula'tek killed Kithix and died. Alright? Nexali and her priest sought to revive her. Meanwhile, Jackmo, after seeing the destruction and death, decided that Ula'tek was a monster and that his sister had to be stopped. Jackmo had Nexali buried alive and had Atal'Utek built. And that's what I'm saying. I do think at the end of the day, he had her buried alive first and then built up this temple city. Because if you go back to the previous journal, it kind of built it up that way. They built this and then left. Alright? So he sealed her, built this. Alright? And he built his empire on his great sin. Forbade visiting the Isle, and had the new Loa of the Amani seal the coiled island. Alright? And that's the other part, right? The Loa won't go over here. The Loa would have known, right? If the Loa sealed the island, right? And I do think they did. They basically admit they did. Right? Did Jackmo not tell him? Did Jackmo go, yo, hey Loa, what's up? I'm glad you're my friend. Can you help me seal this island? And the Loa are like, yeah, that island is really bad. We'll seal it. And he's like, yeah. And don't ever mention this. And the Loa agreed. So to me, the Loa do got some explaining to do. And I do wonder how they come into play with it. And yeah, that's how this place got built. And then over the years. So this was both a tomb and a vault for the greatest warriors. Because one of the things we learn about in here is about they have these ancient Amani warriors called the Magi. Never heard that before. And they're ghost stone warriors that help seal in the children of Ula'tek and the soul coilers that were left. So basically, you had this sealed off island sealed by both the fangs of Ula'tek, which the daggers are, were probably taken away and sealed, which is interesting, right? So we see the bridge, right? So they built up Atal'Utek, all right? Then Jackmo, or maybe his ancestors, we don't know how long this took to build, all right? And that's what I'm saying. If this took longer to build than it took to seal Nexali, because Nexali was sealed in with Jackmo's buddy. All right, so she was sealed in right at the jump, or at some point during that time. So if that took time, so then he built up Atal'Utek, and maybe at that time Jackmo was already like, "Yo, I'm leaving that island, right? I have my great project on that island. Yo, I'm gonna build Atalaman. Then I'm gonna build other places all along, the northern eastern kingdoms here. We're building our empire." All right. Now, here's the thing. The fact that Amani or Zandalari also used this as a prison isle along with the Amani means, I wonder if we see Zandalari ships do this sort of thing, right? Because they mention avoiding Elflands, right? Zandalari don't want to go by Elflands, right? In ancient time, they wouldn't have had to deal with that, right? They could have just boop. But they could have also gone through Thandal Pass and come around this way. All right, so that's interesting to think about. But everybody be using the Spooky Isle as their prison. And yeah, so we got Tortolan recently, and the Children of Ula'tek, all the different kinds coiling around there. And then Murlocs and Jarden. So, I got a few more questions left, and then I'll be done here. So, Ula'tek and Hakkar. I really wonder if there's something about that, but that would have to come into play. Because here's the interesting part, right? We've always had Hakkar as a bad Loa, right? And now we're calling Ula'tek a bad Loa, even though we know it's a manifestation of Azeroth's dreams from the Rift of Alm. But the Loa we see, the wild gods, that's what they are. They are animals, dreamed up by Azeroth. So Ula'tek is one of them, just brought from the pain of the Rift. All right? And that's why I think she's got a fell. That's why I think Ula'tek's got a fell thing. But I do think there could be more here. And like I said, will we see Orwena be more involved? Will we... Because Orwena is mainly helping us because of how this started with her. And now if we're going into this whole Kithix thing, she's going to feel even more involved. And we're going to have to see how this goes. And yeah, if Ula'tek was keeping Kithix away, there may be something about what's down in there. All right. And it does bring me back to, why did Azeroth lead us to Nexali's tomb? To bring back Ula'tek? Or to stop her? Alright. Now, there's one last conspiracy that is the ultimate conspiracy in my award. It is literally the ultimate conspiracy. I think I talked about everything else on my list. I talked about what I didn't like. I talked about the story. I talked about the history now. I've talked about what I do like. Right? I do like the zone. There is one last conspiracy theory that I do have to mention because once I started, I can't not think about it. Is Orwena Xal'atath? Because, right, we see Xal'atath go do her thing. Now Orwena's back in the story. Now Orwena's here helping us stop Ula'tek. Right? The visions of Azeroth, were they visions of Azeroth? Or was it Xal'atath leading us to stop Ula'tek so her general could be reborn? Now, I don't believe... Listen up. I don't believe the Orwena Xal'atath conspiracy. I don't know if I'm the first one to think of it or to start it or where it came from anymore. Like the eyes of green. The eyes of green is what made me think about a mysterious Owena. And then the spookiest answer was, I've never seen Orwena and Xal'atath in the same room. All right, now I don't believe it. I don't believe it, but it's something to think about. But yeah, overall, like I said, the full story, I'm going to recap real quick, even though it's been long enough. But overall, the whole story of the island, getting over there, learning about the Amani history, the original sin. I like the change. The things I don't like is Ula'tek's just a monster, Zul'jan dying. But the story to get there was very involved. And I do have hopes, right? Fake out death with Zul'jan, right? Or at the very least, Zandalari Darkspear involvement in the 0.5 and 0.7 could be real. I wanted Troll Unity all in one patch, but maybe they heard that that's not good and they do want to space it out, which would honestly be better, you know, especially if we get all this stuff. And we are for sure getting Kithix in the 0.5. He is coming back. It is the most obvious lead up to, here's the thing. This zone was the most obvious zone that we've ever seen. And now they're leading into the 0.5 with the most obvious upcoming bot Kithix that we've ever seen. And then after Kithix, there's only a few places to go. There's only one way to go to get after Xal'atath, the way I see. Alright. But there's one other idea. It literally just came to me. With no Ula'tek, there is someone else who could beat Kithix that just came back. There is literally someone else, I just thought of that just came back that has beat one of these generals before. And he's just a hop away. Yo. I think that's good. But yeah. So overall, yeah, I like the story. We learn about the history. It does finally come full circle to solve that one little problem of what dark power Malakras was after. Ula'tek. And I like that. I liked all of that. I still have a good time with this zone. It's not as good as the base Zul'imon zone, but it's a good follow-up. It's a decent follow-up. And then I am still wanting more. So I can't complain there. I'm curious where we're going. And Muzala never showed up. So I was wrong about that. Muzala has not shown up. He was mentioned, though. He was mentioned by one of the ghosts here. And I was just like, oh. Oh. So we'll have to see. And I did mention Sethralis was mentioned too. And literally, Nexali summoned a snake based off Sethralis. And there is the question, right? How did she know she was going to get Ula'tek? Right? Was Ula'tek whispering to her? Was Azeroth whispering to Nexali to summon Ula'tek? That is the lingering questions I have, right? But we'll have to see how it all plays out. I'm excited. I can't wait for this. August 11th. And 18th maybe for the full story. I'm excited, though. I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.